What happens when one man, scarred by the past yet armed with wisdom, faces the cruelty of 6 young bullies in a dark Beijing alley? Does he fight with fists, or does he teach with his soul? Stay with me till the end of this story, because what Jackie Chan's character, Mr. Han, does in this unforgettable moment will shock you, inspire you, and make you believe that strength is not about how hard you can hit, but how deep your spirit can endure. If you love stories of resilience, hidden power, and the kind of cinematic twist that leaves your heart pounding, then don't just listen. Smash that subscribe button, because stories like this will keep coming, and trust me, you don't want to miss the next one. Dre Parker had already tasted humiliation enough times to last a lifetime since moving to China with his mother, every day becoming an uphill battle of trying to fit in while constantly standing out. His American accent, his clothes, his energy, everything making him a target. And that night when he found himself cornered by 6 boys led by Chang, the fierce, merciless kung fu prodigy who had vowed to break Dre's spirit, he thought this was it, the night where pain would swallow him whole, his breath tight, his body trembling, his knees weak. But fate had a different plan, because out of the shadows walked the man everyone in the neighborhood dismissed as just the lonely maintenance worker, the one who fixed sinks and hammered loose pipes, Mr. Han, who carried the silence of grief in his eyes and the smell of motor oil on his hands. But in that moment he was more than a man. He was a storm about to break. The bullies lunged at Dre first, fists flying like hammers, their laughter sharp like knives, but before a single blow could crush the boy, Mr. Han stepped forward, his weathered hand catching a punch midair with such effortless grace that even Dre gasped. And then it began. A dance, not a fight, because the way Mr. Han moved was not violence, it was art, redirecting every strike, every kick, every reckless attack of the 6 boys into chaos of their own making, one crashing into another, one falling onto the hard concrete, another swinging wildly only to hit air and spin himself into the wall. And Dre couldn't believe it, his eyes wide, because this wasn't the Jackie Chan he had seen in movies. This was something deeper, rawer, like a man whose soul had been broken but who still knew how to bend the world around him like bamboo in the wind. The bullies screamed in frustration, their pride bruised more than their bodies, and Chang, humiliated by his friend's failure, charged with fury in his eyes, aiming to prove that his master's teachings of strike first, strike hard, and show no mercy would crush this old man. But here lay the twist. Mr. Han didn't even hit him. He caught Chang's wrist, spun him around gently, and let his own momentum drag him to the ground. Because Han wasn't fighting to win, he was fighting to protect, to show that true kung fu was not about domination but harmony. And Dre felt something ignite inside him, like hope was being reborn. But what nobody knew in that alley was that Mr. Han had sworn never to fight again, haunted by a tragedy he carried every day. The memory of the car crash that took his wife and child, the guilt that chained him in silence, making every step heavy. So for him to break that vow and fight meant Dre had already become more than just a boy he looked after. Dre had become a reason to live again. And though the bullies stumbled away, humiliated, their pride shattered, the story didn't end there. Because revenge festers, and Chang's eyes burned with something darker as he whispered to his friends that this wasn't over, that Mr. Han and Dre would pay in the tournament ring, where mercy would be outlawed. But Dre didn't hear that whisper. All he felt was awe, confusion, and a strange comfort as Mr. Han put a gentle hand on his shoulder and simply said, "Come," as though the night hadn't been filled with chaos, as though 6 boys hadn't been dismantled by one grieving man. And this twist, this simple act of walking away, was more powerful than any victory scream, because it showed Dre that strength wasn't loud, it was quiet. And though his heart raced, he began to understand that his journey in China wasn't about surviving bullies, it was about transforming himself, and the first step had already begun the moment Mr. Han fought not with fists but with balance, not with anger but with peace, planting the seed for a bond that would change both their lives forever, a bond that would lead to the legendary training that turned Dre Parker from victim to warrior, from lost boy to hero. And in that single night, as the street grew quiet and the echoes of fists and fury died away, destiny had been rewritten, not just for Dre, but for Mr. Han, who finally saw a chance to heal through teaching, to turn his pain into purpose, and to prove that sometimes, 6 bullies aren't defeated by violence at all, but by a man who remembers that real kung fu lives not in the hands, but in the heart.